Welcome to this week's AMT Standard Bank Fresh Produce Market Overview. In this week's episode, proudly brought to you by Standard Bank and Villa, we look at the latest price movements over the past week and discuss why month-end can bring some relief to very low potato and banana prices at the moment. So make sure to stay tuned. Our biggest movers for the week was carrots with a 14% drop in prices, while peppers jumped by about 13% week on week. We saw most prices that came under pressure last week, but the better demand this week can bring some relief, so keep an eye on that. But with that, let's dive into the latest prices over the past week. The national average potato price stayed on a lower level and decreased to an average of R50.73 per 10 kilogram bag. Large potatoes traded lower at R60, mediums at R48 and smalls at R29. Mondials dropped to 46 while Cifras came in at about R59. The average price for class 1 potatoes across all sizes and markets was on R56. We expect volumes to stay on these higher levels for the foreseeable future. This can keep prices on these lower levels for now, but we still expect demand to pick up over the next week, which can result in at the average weekly price to increase slightly, but don't expect any fireworks for now. The average onion price decreased by 10% to R76.76 per 10 kilograms and is now about 12% lower compared to last year. Brown onions averaged on R79, red onions decreased to R164 and white onions decreased to R71. Large onions traded lower on R87, mediums at R81 and smalls on R58. We are now on a similar price level and path as last year when we saw prices dropping from current levels to about R50 from now until September. I however still think that we can stay above those levels this year due to lower expected production coming into the markets as well, but we expect prices to stay in this downward trend. Tomato prices decreased by 7% to a national average price of R10.05 per kilogram. Large tomatoes traded on R9.90, mediums on R10.63 and smalls on R9.80. Volumes are still relatively low on the markets with the colder weather keeping production a bit lower than usual, but there are no signs of actual damage to the crop at the moment. Higher demand and lower volumes can support prices this week. As expected, carrot prices dipped by more than 14% last week to R6.25 per kilogram, mostly due to lower demand and higher volumes. Large carrots traded on R6.31, mediums at R5.05 and smalls on R4.50. We still expect supply to the markets to pick up over the next few weeks, which can keep prices in this downward trend as we head into July and August. Higher demand this week can, however, result in a temporary higher price. This video is proudly sponsored by Villa. Through world-class technology like MasterLock, localized for South African conditions, Villa helps you manage risk, increase productivity, and get it right the first time. Backed by research that keeps you ahead. The average pepper price increased by 13% to R18.36 per kilogram. Green peppers came in higher at R13, yellow peppers increased to R28.69 and red peppers increased to R26.34. This average price is now almost 29% higher than this time last year, with volumes about 9% lower year on year. I think we can see higher prices over the next week due to higher demand as well. Cabbage prices increased by 10% to R2.91 per kilogram and is also likely to increase slightly this week. Garlic prices decreased by 17% to R64.82, with local garlic now on R69.98 and imported garlic on R77.92. Garlic prices will likely remain on a higher level during July, but then start to trickle downwards from August onwards. Spinach prices dropped by 4% to R4.29 per kilogram, with prices that will likely remain around these levels during July and August. Sweet potato prices decreased by 3% to R4.76 last week and can start to increase slightly until August. Pumpkin prices decreased by 7% to R3.13, while butternuts increased by 3% to R5.83. Green beans increased to R13.33, while cucumbers traded lower on R16.87 last week. Our latest reports are also now available on our website, so go check them out at amtrends.co.za now. In the fruit market, the average banana price dropped by 15% to R5.52 per kilogram, or a R99 per 18 kilogram box. It looks like prices can stabilize this week with more volume sent to the coastal markets and less on the Joburg market. Coupled with that, demand is also expected to increase as well, which can support prices slightly. However, longer to medium term, I still feel that high volumes will keep these prices severely under pressure. Apple prices traded on R9.10 per kilogram, while pear prices decreased to R8.90. Orange prices stayed on a lower level as expected and traded 5% lower on R4.15 per kilogram. We anticipate prices to remain on this lower level over the following 2 to 3 months. Avocado prices decreased slightly to R15.47 per kilogram, still 9% above last year's levels. Fiates traded on 21, Haas on R13.30 and Pinkertons on R13.63. Expect prices to remain around current levels until October, after which it can start to increase again as the season then comes to an end. The average grape price remained sideways on R61.78 per kilogram. Expect grape prices to peak in July and then remain on higher levels in August due to low volumes on the markets. Pineapples dropped to R9.01 and is also likely to bottom out in July and August. Lemons increased to R5.56, while the average blueberry price dropped to R132 per kilogram last week. This episode was proudly brought to you by Standard Bank and Villa. For more detailed insights, forecasts, and free downloadable tools, visit amtrends.co.za now. I'm Dr. Johnny van der Merwe. Thanks for tuning in and see you next week.